running your little errands, running into Walmart, running the shop, right? Whatever it is. Right now, you cannot have a false sense of security. You cannot just have a false sense of safety just because you're just walking amongst people and everybody else is going into the store. What you need to do right now is you need to start watching people. You need to start watching people deeply. Like I'm watching people's facial expressions, their attitudes. I'm judging everybody because it's dangerous out here right now. Right now, you see all these assassinations and assassination attempts. It's a lot of emboldened people out here right now. And they think that they have to do something. And I feel that we are not safe as a country itself, let alone individuals. Your bus, your little job, your little wherever, your little area could be a target for some mass event. Because they on the shit out here. They up to shit. That's why it's so much shit going on. You see, what was it just last week? Or maybe matter of fact, it was this week. Secret Service busted some operation that was going to knock out all the communications across New York City. Shit, when I hear that, that's only part of the plan. What was they trying to knock out the communications for? So this is what I'm saying. Like, don't have a false sense of security. Really pay attention to people. And I ain't talking about, I'm in the hood. I always watch my surroundings. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. Your little ass can be going to the laundromat. You can be catching the bus to your job, whatever, standing on the corner, and you in the wrong area right now. Shit is popping off. The melting pot is at a boiling point. Just be safe and really watch people. Watch everything about them. When you walking amongst people walking past you, you walking past whoever. Watch everything right now. Keep yourself safe out here.
First and foremost, before we get started, I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash, and double honors to those great millstone while I learned his truth, and also to those elect that are scattered abroad. I like to say, Shalom. Come back here today with another great and powerful lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah. And the type of day lesson is redeeming the times because the days are evil. Mass shootings, deaths across the U.S. So I like to say shalom to all our listeners and learners. Hope this helped you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness and back to your true power, which in fact is Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah. So we seen in the opening clip, the guy was talking about be very watchful, because the days are evil. And also, he already was saying about, that it was a failed attempt of them knocking out all the communication over New York City. So that happened, I think, right before the General Assembly. So a lot of things are happening all across the world. We're already knowing about what's in the news now about these mass shootings, 4 mass shootings within 24 hours, and also, we have these hanging deaths across America, primarily in Mississippi and Alabama. I think it was just another one, I think about 2 days ago in Birmingham, I think, there's a guy came up unalive, so was hanging from a tree. So these things are constantly picking up left and right, one thing behind another. And also, it make me think about the report that the lady, I think she was ex-CIA, she brought out a report about these sleeper cells in America, that Al Qaeda, is going to strike back at America and also at Israel. So kind of seeing these things are kind of lining up, Also, we constantly seeing, the war drones are constantly beating all across the world, one thing behind another. And also, we already know about that digital ID that was mandatory in the UK. So these things right now is constantly picking up. That's why we got to be circumspect, redeem the time wisely, because the days are evil. They're getting more and more evil as the days go on. So we're seeing right now these plagues, these scourges are not slacking down for a moment. We are in the birth pain. We're seeing them happening right before our eyes. So the man, he was very concerned. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it, the Lord constantly, people not in the truth or outside the truth still have that spirit of that something is getting ready to go down. We already knowing about Pete Hegseth, the meeting he's getting ready to have with these top generals around the world, gonna have them at this base in Quantico over there in Virginia. So we seeing that's going down. So a lot of things are happening. So these mass shootings are happening in Tennessee, Louisiana, Michigan, and North Carolina. So one thing behind another, whether it was a false flag or whatever it may be, we know it's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Evil shall be done in the city, and the Lord has not done it. So the Lord is in perfect control. So we constantly seeing these things left and right. So I have other videos to bring out, but I want to bring that one out first about being watchful, being vigilant, what I'm saying, knowing your surrounding. And also you got to have a spirit of discernment because the days are evil. Also we knowing that the love of many is constantly waxing cold and colder. People are very, cold hearted now. People are very evil now. We living in a time now whereby, you can, at a drop of a hat, something can go down. Someone can be unalive. These things are happening right before our eyes because the Lord is bringing forth what? Judgment upon this earth like you have never seen before. And also the Lord said, first my judgment will start at the house of Israel. You wicked Negroes, you wicked Latinos, you wicked Native Indians. I'm talking to you. It's time to return to your true power while you still have time. So now we knowing that right now these things are constantly picking up. These prophecies are speaking loud and clear. So let's get it. Let's go here. I don't talk long enough. Ephesians chapter 5. Verse 15 says, see then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. So right here, circumspectly goes into what? To look around, circumspect means to look. So look around, knowing who you are, who you are dealing with, the people that you're constantly around every day, at your job, at home, out shopping or whatever you may be doing. You know what I'm saying? You might be out seeing a movie, might be at a club, not a club, at a bar, restaurant. So we don't do the clubs and nothing like that. But one thing about it that we seeing right now that everywhere you go, boom, something is happening every day. Mass shooting over here, hanging death over there. Bombing over here, all sorts of things, all sorts of calamities. We seeing it right now. Let's read this once again. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. Verse 16, redeeming the time because the days are evil. So you got to make every opportunity like it's your last. Redeeming the time. How do we redeem the time? With this wisdom, this knowledge, this gospel that shall sustain us in times of trouble. And one thing about it, we're going to need the Lord on our side because the devil is getting ready to come down with great wrath. Also, we know we ride upon what? Jacob's trouble. Also, World War III, and also the implementation of the RFD microchip, which in fact is the mark of the beast, and also that great economic collapse we're seeing right now. Coming up, this fast approaching this digital society, this digital infrastructure. You're already talking about this digital ID over in these other countries. Also, we knowing about the real ID. So it's pretty much it's already here. The stage is set. So let's read this once again. Verse 16 says, redeeming the time because the days are evil. They're very evil. Got to be looking around, knowing your environment, knowing who you are involved with, knowing the people that surround you. One thing about it is that, hey, if Lord ain't on your side, you're going to be unalive. Verse 17 said, wherefore be ye not unwise, but understand what the will of the Lord is. And we got to understand what the will of the Lord is right now. It's time to seek the Lord while he can be found. It's time to meditate day and night in his great wisdom. And now it's time to what? Pray without ceasing. Ask the Lord to have mercy upon it. Ask the Lord to cap his angels around because we coming upon some turbulent time that we have never seen before. So now, let's go here and get a couple of these news articles I got. I got a quick Google search about these mass shooting, all rolled into one. And also I have videos about the mass shooting and also about that Sarah Adams video. One of them is, I think, from last year. And that last one that I'm going to show is pretty recent, but it coincides with what we're talking about. But one thing about it that, that's why the Lord set up the men of the Lord to warn you of all these impending dangers. And one thing about it that we seeing right now, these things are constantly picking up right before I. And also, I want to say too, a lot of people are coming up missing. So man, the days are evil, man. Let's get this right quick. So I did a quick Google search on Google. It said 4 mass shootings within 24 hours and see what it give me back. So it sums it up for me right here. It says This says here, AI overview. It says, according to the news report on September the 28th, 2025, there were at least 4 mass shootings across the United States within a 24-hour period. So reports indicates incidents occurred in Michigan, North Carolina, Texas, and New Orleans. Said the incidents were part of a particular violent weekend, with one source reporting at least 7 people killed, unalive, and dozens injured. Let's get this here. So incidents reported on September the 28th, 2025. He said Grand Black Michigan. It says a gunman drove a vehicle into a Mormon church, opened fire on the congregation, and set the building on fire. So we already know that the Lord is not dwell in temple made by hand, so we don't give a damn about that. So at least ye are the temple of the Most High. At least 4 people were killed and 8 others injured before the gunman was shot and killed by police. That's something. We seeing that all these mass shooting, all of a sudden the person that did the shooting, whatever, did this crime, always come up unalive. So also, when you get around to look up MK Ultra, so there's a lot of things at work, whether it's a false flag or whatever it may be. But we know it's all through the spirit and the power of Yahweh by Hashem Abishai. So that's the first one. That one in Grand Blanc. I hope I'm saying Black Lance, Michigan. I hope I'm saying that word right. And so that's the first one right there. And another one here in Southport, North Carolina said BBC reported that 3 people were killed and several injured after a shooting at a waterfront bar. Said the suspect was accused of firing on the bar from a boat. So we seeing this right here. So these incidents right here, we're not ignorant of Satan's device. A lot of these things are happening within 24 hours, so they're stepping up their game. We know that the devil is coming down with great wrath because he's knowing that his time is very short. So he getting ready to pick it up, order out of chaos all over the place. This is what he's constantly setting up. Also that meeting, I think it's first part of next week. And also we knowing that the Day of Atonement is coming up. So, we in some very turbulent time. That's why we got to stay prayed up. Ask the Lord to keep the spirit upon us, also to direct our step, because we gonna need the Lord when these things go down. Well, let's see here. That's the second one. And the next one said Texas said a casino shooting reportedly killed 2 people and injured 7. And the last one is in New Orleans, Louisiana, on Bourbon Street. This right here in my own backyard. It says a woman was killed and 3 others were injured in a shooting. Man, I'm telling you, and it's got here the definition of mass shooting. It said defining a mass shooting can be complex, and different organizations track the data using various criteria. They tell you about gun violence, and other things like that. We're not gonna go into this, but we see it right here now that they always tell you about gun violence and mass shootings. So we already know they're gonna come with some type of executive order, to bring in what they're the solution. We already know that they always cause the chaos and come with this solution. What they call it: problem, action, and solution. This is just NWO. So we seeing the full. We're not ignorant once again of his agenda, his plan, his mindset. So we seeing right now these things happening every day. And also, it was a guy, I had a video a while back. It was a dude on the southern border, and the guy was filming him, and he said, "Man, you just wait and see. You gonna know who I am very soon." So this dude was a leader of Al Qaeda. So they're saying that they already have sleeper cells out through America. So let's get through one. We probably won't read this. We're just gonna read the title. This is another quick Google search here by Praise 100.9. It must be a radio station, but this here is on Newsbreak. It says here, it says so-called black people lynched. Say in recent years, 10 deaths that shook the nation. But we already knowing about what happened just recently. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. The guy got unalive at Delta State in Mississippi, and the other one was some part of Vicksburg, and there was another one in I think now the recent one was in Birmingham, Alabama. So all these things are taking place in the South. So this devil is moving in warp speed. We're not going to read this report right here, but we're seeing now that, a lot of mass shootings, a lot of deaths, a lot of people coming up missing. You know what I'm saying? And what about is more increasing because the Lord is bringing forward what? Judgment. And we're seeing it happening left and right. The days are evil. We got to what? Redeem the time wisely. And one thing about it, we got to constantly, pray without ceasing. We got to constantly what? You know what I'm saying? Watch. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that's the main thing we got to watch. So let's get one more quick precept. We're going to start some more videos in a minute. Let's get one more quick precept here. Let's get this one here. 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 7 said, casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. Let's read that once again. It says, 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 7, casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. And here's the point, verse 8, say, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walks about seeking whom he may devour. So that's exactly what's happening right now. Be vigilant. That means be watchful. The adversary is what? Your enemy. And who is the devil that the Bible speaks of? Esau, Edom, the modern day so-called white man. This man right here, seeing that his days are determined, he's seeing right now that he's at the end of the road, and he's getting ready to resort to that sword. So let's read it in the NLT. It says, stay alert. Watch out for your great, let me start over again. I'm excited. Verse 8 again in NLT says, stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. And one thing about it, we know that the devil's getting ready to come down with great wrath. So we seeing now things are constantly picking up. These mass shootings, these hanging deaths, these people coming up missing. And also we know that the love of many is constantly waxing cold and cold. We're at the beginning of sorrow. It's just getting started. And one thing about it, we're coming upon a time of trouble that we have never seen before. So now let's start the rest of the day's videos. And after that, we'll start the lesson. And I hope that you will get edified.
Y'all, you can't make this shit up. There's been another incident at a church where somebody came in and started shooting. And then, as you see on the picture, they lit the church on fire too. Multiple people has been hit. This is the Latter-day Saints Church in Michigan, y'all. What's going on? What is really going on? So they said the dude walked in and just started opening fire on any and everybody he seen. And you had people trying to escape. And that's when the shit caught on fire. So they did say the shooter is down, but that didn't stop him from opening up rounds on 6 to 8 people. And it's unclear if any of them either survived or was unalived. I'm gonna let y'all know. We just gotta understand that this shit ain't right, fool. Something is going on, bruh. Why are so many churches being targeted? I just gotta know.
Working in conjunction with the federal, state, local authorities. I was asked by Grambling Township, where the scene is active, to put this message out to the community.
Shit crazy.
That there is a more active threat. The shooter is down. We do have multiple victims. The entire church is on fire, and we're working with fire and all those things that happen during active shooter training. This is a
So yesterday was an angry day in the U.S. 3 mass shooting events. One out in Bourbon Street in New Orleans, left 1 dead and 3 injured. Another one down in South Texas at the Eagle Pass Casino, leaving 2 dead. Then another in Southport, North Carolina, killing 3 and injuring 8. And then if we thought today was sacred, another mass shooting up in Michigan, killing 2 up in the Mormon church. Sure is a lot of gun violence for us to be making America great again. Thoughts and cheers.
All right, so it looks like we're going to war. Last night, Al-Qaeda sent out a message basically stating that he is activating all of the sleeper cells. All right. The leader of Al-Qaeda said for every abled Muslim to prepare, you know. Now, from what the CIA has stated, how this is going to play out more than likely is you're going to have activity popping off in different cities. LA, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Dallas, like just all across the nation. You're going to have things just popping off, and there's going to be so much commotion that they're not going to be able to keep up with everything. Last year, there was a guy that crossed the border. When they stopped him, he said, "You don't know who I am yet, but soon you will know." Now, the internet did its research. He was one of the main leaders from Al Qaeda. So these are the type of people that we have here right now. Now, there's over 1,000 sleeper cells across the U.S. and things are looking pretty ugly. All right.
I know for sure Al Qaeda has a massive terror attack plan. They have it slotted for 2025. It could move, like the Hamas attacks got pushed a year, but it's going to be multi-city. It's going to be a swarming attack. So that's kind of like we saw with the Mumbai bombings or some in the Hamas attacks as well. They're going to have about 10% of the attackers be suicide bombers, and they're going to bomb airliners. So there will be a very large scale attack on the U.S. homeland. Does it all occur in a day? I'm not sure. But the terrorists are already here. The plan is operational.
So we see right now that, the plan is operational. So that second to the last video, it came, I think it was last year, when she put out that report, and that last one was more recent. So I put it in here because it ties in, it ties into what this lesson that I'm going over. So it's a possibility, which in fact, we already know that they got sleeper cells. Also, the Bible tells us about the sleeper cells in Jeremiah chapter 51. So these things are right here in front of our face, so Bible prophecy are speaking loud and clear. One thing about it is that, these things don't constantly pick up. So in 24 hours, 4 mass shootings, so hey man, these things are constantly picking up. Also, we knowing about these so-called assassinations, so these things are here. So let's start here first, Matthew chapter 24 and verse 12. Let's get this one right quick. It says here, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So that's exactly what we're seeing, everywhere we look, some more increased violence everywhere. We're seeing, a lot of people right now are very cold-hearted. People are very prideful. A lot of people are covetous. Also a lot of people really don't give a damn. It's just like ticking time bomb. So let's read this in the NLT. That says sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. So when you go into that word cold, goes into psycho. So we got a lot of people right now are going goddamn psycho right now. But one thing about it, we're gonna trust and believe in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. We seeing more increased violence everywhere, more murder after murder, more killings after killings, more mass shootings after mass shooting. And these things are just not picking up. We're seeing it happening with our own eyes. And also we know that the devil's getting ready to come down with great wrath. So now let's go here to 2 Ezra chapter 6, just a quick lesson through the Spirit. That's things that I'm seeing through the Spirit. The Lord say, if you see something, say something. And one thing about it, the Lord said, I set you up as watchmen, warn them for me. And everybody, hey, if you're in this time, you don't know what time they were living in all this time, then you've been under a rock all this time, and you will be totally destroyed. 2 Ezra chapter 16 and verse 18, it said, the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear. It said, the beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? And one thing about it, we're seeing that now, everything is the beginning of sorrows and great mourning. We're constantly seeing that left and right constantly increase. Beginning of famines and great death. So we know that it's already saying that, it's going to be a great economic collapse. We already know that it will cause famine, it's a food shortage, rolling blackout, cyber attack, starvation, and the list go on and on. Great death. We're beginning to see it now, and it's going to constantly increase. So we got to see what's going to happen with this meeting this week. We seeing right now, 2025 is very prophetic. It's at the beginning of war. So we seeing the meeting with Pete Hegseth. And also we see that Russia is constantly bucking up against NATO, but we know at some point that NATO is going to join Russia and China in collaboration to burn the whore. So we in these times, and the power should stand in fear, the beginning of evil. So that's where we at, the beginning of evil. When you go into that word evil, go into an EO time, you know what I'm saying? Which in fact is Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation. They're very close at hand. And it says, and what shall I do when these evils shall come? And one thing about it, we're going to constantly trust and believe in Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua. Verse 19, it says, behold, famine, plagues, and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for a minute. So that's what we constantly seeing right now. Behold, famine, plagues, tribulation, and anguish, and are sent as scourges for a minute. So we're seeing a lot of plague. We're seeing tribulation increasing. Also, we know that persecution of the saints coming, and also we know that famine of the word is fast approach. So these scourges are sent for a minute. Examine yourself. What person that you ought to be, and also get your house in order, get your mind right. You know what I'm saying? We coming upon these times. It's here. Verse 20 said, but for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourge. So a lot of people right now are unaware. A lot of people are not being circumspect. A lot of people are going on with their life, happy-go-lucky, la, 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 la. Then all hell is going to break loose on your ass. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it, why is this happening? Oh, Jesus. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it, we're here, man. That's what we're constantly warning you about. A lot of these false prophets are rising. A lot of people still stuck on stupid. But guess what? You get ready to get your mind right very soon. So we constantly seeing these things left and right. This man constantly showing you something over here, showing you something over there. But he's constantly doing something, that is going to be a major event very soon. And out of the body, he's going to get your attention, which in fact the Lord is going to get your attention. And one thing about this man is getting ready to resort to that sword. The devil is getting ready to come down with great wrath. Verse 21 said, behold, victors shall be good and cheap, so upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. They say, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. So exactly, a lot of people right now still think they good. The lesson I put out the other day, when I was in my live camp, whereby I said the calm before the storm. So things are right now going pretty good right now. You still watching your favorite the NFL, your favorite show, your movies, this bread and circus show. Everything is all right. But guess what? All of a sudden, all hell is going to break loose. And it says here, shall evils grow upon the earth. It said, let me start over again. It says here, behold, victors shall be good and cheap upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. So that's what we get ready to see more and more. That sword goes into judgment, famine. It is coming, great economic collapse. We see, these things are coming upon us left and right. Also, we know they get ready to transfer over to a digital society where it's going to go under your skin. Great confusion. A lot of people going to be thrown in all sorts of rioting, sedition, it's a civil unrest. A lot of these things are coming upon us. That's what we constantly warn you about, left and right. It is here. It is at the door. Verse 22 said, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So one thing about it, you escape the food short, starvation. They said the other that escape that, the sword shall destroy. So either way it go, if you're not a part of the elect, you're going to be unalive. And the one thing about it, we already know the last and final piece of it is that thermonuclear fire. You know what I'm saying? So we know that America will be a lake of fire very soon. So we seeing that things are picking up. The Lord is setting up the ambush, setting up the watchmen. You know what I'm saying? This place is getting ready to be filled with these caterpillars. Talking about these sleepers said. So let's get that right quick. Let's go here to Jeremiah. Let's go to the blue letter. We're going to close out then. So, this could be possibility that they are activating these sleeper cells, but we know at some point they're going to activate them. You know what I'm saying? So they saying they're already here. Say they already have 1,000 Al-Qaeda sleeper cells here already. Ready for giving the order. Also, we knowing about what happened with not a Jew with that speech he had. He talking about he was not going to stop the war in Palestine over there in Gaza Strip. So, so a lot of things are popping up. We seeing right now that any given day. So let's go here to Jeremiah chapter 51. We're going to go straight to the point. Let's drop down to verse. We're going to go straight to the point tonight. Let's start here at verse 12. It says here, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, for the Lord has both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. So the Lord is causing these things to happen left and right. Shall evil be done in the city, and the Lord has not done it. So the Lord is setting the stage, for this last and final peak to bring this place down, and also to usher in the kingdom of heaven that dwells in righteousness. So the Lord is causing these things to happen, just like a domino effect for what? The controversy of Zion. Verse 13 says, O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundance in treasures, thy end is come, and thy measure of thy covenants. It's talking about the great oil that sits on many waters, Babylon, America. You know what I'm saying? We know this place is getting ready to be judged. The end of America is very soon. We're seeing the fall of an empire, of this wicked kingdom. Verse 14 said, the Lord of hosts has sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. So this right here going into, you're going to be filled up with what? With the enemy, these sleeper cells. Now, they shall give out a shout in what? In triumph. They get ready. They want the invasion of America. A lot of people think this place is not going to be ever be taken down, but you're in for a rude awakening. And also it said that America is coming up, 2026 is coming up on 250 years. They saying that now no empire has went past that. So we already knowing that, but the signs of the times are here, and also know that we're approaching the end. The end is being manifested right before our eyes. Let's read in NLT. It said, the Lord of heaven's armies has taken this vow and has sworn to it by his own name. Your cities will be filled, said, with the enemy, like fields of swarming locusts, and they will shout in triumph over you. So that's what we beginning to see, that the enemies is filling all these major cities. We already seeing what happened in Michigan. We see what went down in just the other day too. Also in Dallas was a mass shooting. In Dallas, New Orleans. What's the other one? North Carolina. So these in Louisiana, Texas. Man, I'm telling you, these things are constantly happening. And the Lord, it said right here, once again, it said the Lord of heaven's armies has taken his vow and has sworn to it by his own name. Your cities will be filled with enemies, like fields are swarming with locusts, and they will shout in triumph over you. And one thing about it, we already know that these sleeper cells are in place. They are waiting on a red light. Could this be the beginning of that? We got to measure the time diligently. We know that these things are going to happen. We got to constantly watch, pray, and be sober, because we know that we're here. Let's get this last one. We'll close out. Let's go here to 1 Peter. We close this one out. We read this one all the time. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. Let's get this one and close out right here. It said, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. So we're seeing right now that, hey, the end of the world is coming. We're seeing it's coming very soon. The end of an age, the end of an eon. It's the end of this man rulership, Esau. Esau is the end of this earth age, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. That's where we at right now. That's why we got to stay prayed up. We got to constantly be watching, be vigilant, pray without ceasing, ask the Lord to have mercy on. Also ask the Lord for his protection, and one thing about it, we are here. It is at the door. So the title of the day lesson, once again, is Redeeming the Times, because the days are evil, mass shooting, death across the U.S. So I'd like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash. I like to say, Shalom, Shalom.